So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
Hello, people. All right, happy Monday, everybody. Glad that you're here. I want to welcome you to tonight's edition of Bible News Radio. I am really super excited about what we're going to talk about tonight. It's going to be so good, you guys. There's so much fun news out there today. And yes, I'm going to avoid Trump, okay? Just so you know, I'm not going to talk about Donald Trump. Because everybody and their grandmother is talking about Donald Trump. Tonight we got some interesting news. Actually, I pulled a lot of interesting headlines. We're going to talk about The View. And Joy Behar said she's a Christian today on The View. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to play you the audio and the video so you can see it. Yeah. Also, there's sheep and human hybrids on the plate of the scientists these days. They think that they can combine sheep and humans, make some organs in order to solve and create good health for diabetics. So that's going to be interesting. We're talking about that a little bit. Also, some dog food has been recalled. So does Fido eat the dog food that's been recalled? Because it's been laced with euthanasia drugs? I don't know about you, but I make my dog's food for that reason. Just saying. All right, what else do we got here? I sent Randall a whole boatload of articles. I don't know if we're going to get to them all, but we're going to try. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you know Job in the Old Testament, the book of Job, aka Job. You know that Job was struck with boils from, I believe, the head at the top of his head to the soles of his feet. Do you know that scientists now have actually, they believe that they've, quote, discovered the actual disease that Job had? We're going to talk about that a little bit if we get time. And there is a little Bible, it's about this big, that was commissioned, dedicated to George Washington, and we're going to talk about that. I think it's kind of fun. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, and we'll talk about some other fun stuff too, because after all, we're fun people. So I want to say hi, welcome you all, ask you all to share this out, whatever platform you're on. If you're on Facebook Live, feel free to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, feel free to share it out. And if you're on Periscope, where most of you guys are, I just want to say thank you for joining us. I had to shut that off before it flipped to the next track, because, you know, it's just me. Stop it. Anyway, so thank you guys for coming in. So I see our pillars of the community. Most of you are in here. Thank you guys for coming in. Mia and Kimberly, it's nice to see you, and Melanie and Liz and Jeff and somebody who's calling themselves Defiant. Tanya and some Sophelia. Did I say that right? I hope I did. All right. You guys, thank you for coming in. And I don't know if anybody's on Facebook because I can't see it yet. I don't show that I'm live, so I might have to refresh my page, just so you know. All right, I am. Okay, let me go ahead and look over on Facebook just for a mere minute. And just so you know, we're cutting the show down to 55 minutes because hopefully within the next week or so, we will be going, well, maybe let's just say March for sure. We are going to be going live on Roku on a network, which we will tell you later about. So we need to start cutting off 5 minutes so that they can put commercials in. And once we get everything signed and in order, we'll let you know where that's going to be. But we're excited about that because I think that God is good and he's opening doors for Bible News Radio. And by the way, I want to thank whoever the anonymous donor was who gave us money last week. Thank you for it. You really have no idea how much we needed that amount. And so thank you for your generosity to us. We really, really, really super thank you for it. Actually, you know, it's not very often I'm speechless, but occasionally it happens, and that actually made me speechless for a few days. So thank you for that. And just a reminder that if you're watching the show, just realize this is a listener supported, and we have one advertiser sponsored show. And so if you like it, then feel free to become a pillar of the community, donate. You can go to BibleNewsRadio.com. And also, don't forget also that you can follow us on all of our social media and subscribe to my email, BibleNewsRadio.com email list. You can subscribe there. I hope you do, because this is really the insider's look at what's going on Bible News Radio. I'm writing some good stuff there every day, and I'm telling you who our guests are, and it's going to be good. Now, next week, Randall and I will be down in Nashville, which is why this donation was very helpful to us, because we're going to be down there, and we're going to be incurring some expenses going down there, and we're going to be interviewing a lot of people. Now, I literally, we were actually approved as media for Bible News Radio. This is nothing new. I've been credentialed as media for a long time. But what makes it different this year is I got in like before. And so today, and I am not exaggerating, today for over 3 hours of my day, and this is a complete, absolute truth, for 3 hours today, I have literally been fielding email after email after email after email after email from people who are bringing their clients and things over to the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. I want to tell you, I've already booked the Benham brothers, who, by the way, David and Jason Benham are actually emceeing the whole National Religious Broadcasters Convention all next week. Okay, so these are the top dudes that you're right. And 2 years ago, I had the blessing of having the Benham brothers on the show. We're going to be interviewing them. We're also going to be interviewing Kim Davis. You might recall Kim Davis was the lady who said, no, I ain't going to give gay marriages, my thumbs up as the clerk, forget you. And that ended up going to court. She ended up winning the case. They have a book written about. I'm going to be talking to her. Also, we're going to be talking to a lady named Ann White, who's putting out a women's audio Bible. We'll probably actually have her on for a longer interview at some later time. And I have like a whole list of other people. I mean, I literally booked, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, plus there's another list of like 20 other people I've emailed one publicist about, including they have Jonathan Cahn on there, and a lot of the people from American Family Radio, and big wigs in the Christian media world. So we're going to be getting a ton of interviews next week. We're going down on, I think we're going to go on Tuesday night to meet up with my friend Gordon Klingenschmidt from Pray in Jesus' Name. And then we're going to be working all day Wednesday and Thursday. Our show will probably be either partials interviews throughout the day, or we're going to can some of the interviews. That's what they call it in the business. We're just can this, and then we'll play it later. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. This is going to be so fun. We're going to try to hit the expo. There's going to be a lot of authors and people down there. So if you know the world of Christian media, this is like Disneyland of Christian media. I mean, this is the top. National Religious Broadcasters literally brings in people from the world. And there's usually 7,000 to 10,000 people that attend this convention. And I'll be in the media room with a gazillion people. It'll be a lot of work, but it'll be fun. And I'm actually really excited because my old friend Todd Nettleton from The Voice of the Martyrs, he's going to be there, and I got an interview with him. So it's going to be fun. So next week will be preempted probably a little bit, but we'll, definitely be giving you info for sure. So Randall, did you want to say hi to everybody today, or do you want me to just jump into the news?
Do I have to?
No, you don't have to.
I want to, though.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Hey, all y'all.
I'm going to
Welcome to this exciting edition of Bible News Radio.
Yeah, it is. It's totally exciting.
It is. I didn't say it wasn't.
All right, so do you have the Joy Behar piece already queued up? We should just lead with that one.
Yeah, you want to do that?
Yeah, we do, because, here's the thing. Joy Behar, okay, I'm going to say this right up front. I've seen a ton of people in Christian media, including Janet Parcel, one of my mentors, actually tweeting out stuff saying, I can't believe Joy Behar. Can we expect anything less from Joy Behar? Blah, blah, blah. And, look, she's a comedian, supposedly funny. She's clearly liberal when you listen to her. But in this case, I think she was treated unfairly. And again, I'll go back. You can watch the show last week. Hi, John. The dude from Fox News, supposedly conservative, misquoted her. Well, they didn't misquote her, okay? She said what they said, but they took it out of context. They didn't play the whole context, and that's what drives me nuts. So, I'm not supporting Joy Behar's views, but what I am saying is that I think sometimes the right, even the Christian right, loses their mind a little bit. And the fact that the White House didn't even do their due diligence in this case, in my opinion, shows that. But to the View's credit, they actually are trying to address it. So go ahead and play the View. This is from CBN News, I believe.
Here we go.
All right.
Audio.
Hello, womanly woman.
I heard about it. I didn't see it. To have ABC maintain a broadcast forum that compared Christianity to mental illness is just wrong. And it's an insult not to me, but to the vast majority of the American people who, like me, cherish their faith.
Now, he says he did not see it, he did hear about it, but so in case you missed it, take a look at what happened.
It's one thing to talk to Jesus. It's another thing when Jesus talks to you.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's different.
That's different. That's called mental illness, if I'm not correct.
But I think,
hearing voices.
Joy, as a Christian, that's just par for the course. You talk to Jesus, Jesus talks back.
We turned it into a discussion about the criticism of value voters in this country, a criticism of Mike Pence and his faith. Jesus speaking to him, you saying that. I think Jesus speaks to me every morning because I'm...
This is the beauty about Jesus. We don't have to get mad about it because Jesus defends himself.
Say what you will about Mike Pence and his religiosity and everything else. I don't think that he's mentally ill, even though he says he is hearing voices.
So, I'm going to put the question to you, Joy.
Yeah.
Do you think Christians are mentally ill?
Well, I mean, that would make me mentally ill since I'm a Christian myself. I would make my mother mentally ill, my father, my aunts, my daughter, this girl here, you. I mean, of course not. Of course not. I don't mean to offend people, but apparently I keep doing it. It's like, it was a joke. Comedians are in danger these days.
Well, let's talk about this, because one of the things I want to sort of break it down. Let's take this out of the realm of ABC. This is a show that has had great relationships with all kinds of leaders of different religions. We sit with each other. We don't always agree, and
No.
we listen. We do make jokes. It is what happens on this show. You don't have to agree with what we're doing. You don't even have to like it, but you have to understand that it does happen.
Yeah.
Now, to call us intolerant or to call out ABC, let's get rid of that, because ABC, we know, is tolerant of everyone. They have Sunday nights with Joel
Osteen.
Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
So we know that they're fine with that. But the idea that this show is not tolerant of other people's religious beliefs, I find a little hard.
Also, to imply that I'm a Christian, I give money to the church.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually help Christians with my pocketbook. So I'm not insulting Christians.
I was surprised.
Can I jump in on this? Because I will say, first of all, Joy, thank you for saying this, because I think it's important for you to recognize that so many people were upset and offended. And I do know that there's going to be a point in time when I probably say something on the show that gets everybody riled up. It's the nature of live television and a discussion like this. I've had a very hard time the last 2 days with this. My in-laws are evangelical. My entire family are devoutly Christian. If you watch the segment, I'm so uncomfortable. I think Sherry even made a comment about how uncomfortable I looked at the time. And I think we're living in incredibly divisive times right now. We all know that. But I think as a Republican, I feel like sometimes liberals say, we need to be tolerant of everyone, we need to be tolerant of everyone, except pro-lifers, except Trump supporters, except gun owners, except for everyone in the red in the middle of the country.
I think I'm going to stop you because that's not actually true. And I don't want to, and I'm stopping you for a reason. I'm stopping you for a reason. Because we don't want to talk about liberals and what they're doing. Just because I'm trying to get out of this, because this is what they've asked me to do. So if you can do it sort of quickly.
Yes, I would like to move forward. I think we would all like to collectively move forward. I am a great admirer of Mike Pence and his family. I would like to apologize to him and his family in particular. This is a show where we respect one another and we respect everyone else in the country.
We also have a First Amendment going on in this country.
And I just want to say, since I joined this show, I've been very open about being Catholic. I've been very open about being pro-life. And while I have been challenged in those views, I've always been respected by the ladies of this show. Always, always, always. And the notion that we're intolerant is just not true.
Okay, we'll be right back.
So there.
I love what I do. This is one of my fun days. Okay, so here's the thing. There's a couple of things that stood out to me. In that, first of all, here's the truth. ABC got slammed, okay? They got slammed not only by Brent Bozell and his organization, which escapes me at the moment, but the Christian right activists slammed ABC, okay? That's what happened. And I think behind closed doors, they were told, you better go and apologize, or you better address this and make sure that everybody knows that you were just kidding around or whatever, because they have basically been targeted for a massive boycott. And here's the thing. If you don't think Christians boycotting companies matters, talk to the American Family Association, who led a boycott against Target, right? I mean, boycotts work, and these ladies know that, okay? Now, Joy Behar, bless her heart, and I mean that in a southern way, she's sitting there like this. Did you notice that? Like, she's sticking her tongue out, like, just almost not so much like she's her, like she was grinning and bear it, but for her to actually say that she was a Christian, to use those words, I mean, seriously, I thought she was Jewish. I didn't know she was a Christian. Not that you can't be Jewish and Christian, just so you know. But her politics are so far left, okay? I mean, if you look at her, she's not a biblical Christian if she's a Christian. But I will say this, look, you gotta be fair, because she was serious. She didn't make any jokes when she was talking about this. And you know what? Her idea of what a Christian is not, as far as I see, what the Bible's idea of a Christian is. But let's just say, and I don't know if this is the case, but it's the impression I get. You guys can confirm or deny this. Let's just say, for sake of argument, that she is a Catholic, all right? And the reason I think that she might be, if she is a Christian, might be a Catholic Christian, is because she said she gave money. Okay, and that she helps Christians out. She gave money to her church. Right there, that is a works-based religion, right? And you can call it Christian or whatever, which it seems like that's what she did. Her mom apparently gave money to the church too. And here's the other thing. They also, and this is the part that bugs me, and I talked about this last week. At the end of that clip, Joy Behar actually said she thought Vice President Pence would be a better president than Donald Trump because she can't stand Donald Trump, okay? That's what I thought. Joy was Jewish, but she said she's Christian in this clip. And then also, she did say that she doesn't really believe Mike Pence is mentally ill, okay? So that's the part of the story that bothers me, that the quote conservative media over at Fox News left out, and everybody and their grandmother picked it up and just pounced on Joy Behar. So I'm not coming to Joy's defense, but I am thinking that this is an overreaction of people not doing their due diligence and looking at what was really said. Joy has hate in her heart and hides behind what free speech and comic relief. What a fake. I'm not a fan of The View. Long before these comments, the show just oozes negativity. Well, yeah, I always call the show The Left View. But at the same time, they have had on a number of more conservative people. Now, this Sunny lady that's on there, I don't really know anything about her except she said she's Catholic and she's pro-life. Meghan McCain is, I think, the daughter of John McCain, who is a moderate. He isn't a conservative by any stretch. She's pro-homosexual marriage, as far as I know. But, you know, she was definitely uncomfortable with that conversation. But here's where, let's just be sane thinkers. Joy Behar made a joke about Mike Pence hearing voices, okay? And she equated that to mental illness. Okay, that's known as schizophrenia. People who hear voices, generally speaking, are schizophrenic. I mean, you know, at least when I was a therapist, that's what I was taught. Okay, that was her joke. But because our society is so dang hypersensitive about everything in their, you know, everything, it's like they took that and basically labeled, you know, all Christians in the world as mentally ill. Now, was that a nice thing to say? No, but given that it was Joy Behar making a joke, and an accurate joke, if you think about it, as far as hearing voices, that's mentally ill, then it's sort of funny. But it's not really funny in our hyper oversensitive society where you can't say stuff like that. And this is where Joy said, you know, comedians are under fire. Well, I think she was also alluding back to Kathy Griffin, who went back a couple of months back, and she was, you know, decapitating Donald Trump. That's not humor. That's psychopathic, disgusting, you know, that's just not, that's sick, what Kathy Griffin did. And that's why she was called out for her thing, because of what she did. What Joy Behar did is par for the course for Joy Behar. Whoopi Goldberg, as you may recall, is also a comic or comedian, and I have always seen her as somebody who is more moderately, and she's fair. It was how she said it didn't seem like a joke. Yeah, but to a lot of people it didn't. I mean, it didn't seem like a joke to me, but Joy is cutting, so I understand her, and I think to her it was a joke because, like I said, at the very end, she didn't. At the original piece, she actually went back and defended Mike Pence and said she didn't really think he was mentally ill. So, Randall, do you want to weigh in?
I would be glad to weigh in.
Okay, go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
Well, I suspect that Joy Behar is ethnically Jewish. You know,
That's what I think she is.
Right. Not practicing Judaism. She might I don't know, or some sort of smorgasbord of, you know, kind of eclectic spiritualism. But as you pointed out, she says, I'm a Christian, I give money to the church, not I'm Christian, I've made a profession of faith in Christ, or right. I'm a Christian, you know, I trust Christ as my Savior. You know, I've been baptized into whatever, you know, to say, as that's the first thing in her mind, I'm Christian, I give money to the church, that's the proof of it, tells me that it's not a relational thing. You know, we know from John 10:27, Yeshua says, you know, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. You know, biblical Christianity you're talking about, there is this, we know his voice. Be it that still small voice or whatever. So anyway, and like you say, I believe it was a joke.
I think it was.
Because it's kind of a mob mentality, a small mob, but it's like, as we experienced in the movie Wonder, where we were just watching that, based in the book, where the kids are all together and they're bagging on the kid, and then the one who's really his friend just goes with it and says some mean things just because he's trying to be part of the crowd. And because we have this divisiveness in our society, well, especially here in the United States, and there is this divide that the blonde gal, I don't know, she alluded to the tolerance.
That's Meghan McCain.
Yeah. She says tolerance of everybody but, and she spoke the divisiveness. I mean, if you hang out on Facebook, the divisiveness. So there is this sort of knee-jerk reaction, and when someone's talking smack about the current administration, you start making sort of mean jokes, and so I don't think she actually believes that he's schizophrenic or insane, but it's just, hearing voices and that. But I wouldn't expect a joke like that from someone who really knows the Lord.
Here's the thing, though, and this is where we always go back to. If she had made that joke against Muhammad or anybody, devout Muslim who loves Muhammad,
there wouldn't be a reappearance.
That's right, exactly.
She probably would not have made it home safely that night.
Okay, so let's parse this out a little bit further, right? Okay, Bible News Radio, we're a Christian worldview show, okay? So let me ask you this. From a biblical perspective, do you think it's actually correct for all the Christians in the media to be pouncing on Joy Behar? And how biblical is that in lieu of what God tells us to do, to love our enemies and to bless those who despitefully use us and persecute us?
And if they claim to be believers, if they call themselves a brother or sister, then that's a time to, approach them individually. And if they don't hear you, take with you, 2 or 3 others, or 1 or 2 others that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, and they don't hear you, true biblical Christianity is one of restoration. If they're non-believers, then whatever. We shouldn't expect the world to behave like the church. Read 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Paul says, God judges those who are outside. Who are we to judge? They're going to act like the world.
Right.
They have a business. But if they call themselves anyone named a brother or a sister, someone who claims to be in the family, then we need to use discernment, but the ultimate goal should be not one of calling them out or condemning them. It ought to be one of reconciliation. Say, hey, brother, hey, sister, this is what I observed, and I don't think that's pleasing to God, and seek to restore such a one.
Right. And
in the spirit of humility, lest you also be tempted.
Hi,
Galatians
Sam and
chapter
Karen
5?
and Eric.
Or 6.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and so this is the thing, Christians get outraged, and here's what I'm not saying. What I'm not saying I'm not saying it's not okay to be upset about it. Sure, it's okay. It's completely okay. Because the double standard in our culture today is that Christians can't express our outrage. We can't defend ourselves. We can't say, what we want to say, because then we get thrown back, well, you're supposed to love your enemies, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. But under the abomination presidency that we suffered under for 8 years, Christians were attacked, vilified, persecuted under the media, left and right, and nobody was held accountable. See, now that Donald Trump is in office, and you can hate him, you can love him, whatever. I don't agree with everything, but I do like the fact that we actually have a man in the White House now compared to the wuss we had earlier for 8 years. And I will say that, I'm just saying, Obama was a wimp. Just saying. If Donald and Obama arm wrestled, who do you think would win? Just saying. Okay. Seriously. My point is that there is a double standard, and when the liberals start having to be held accountable, they they whimper and they run away like big babies instead of just going, you know what? I just have to deal with the firestorm. You know? I mean, I get attacked by the homosexual community, by the pro-choice community, by the Christian community, it's like, whatever. You know, you have to learn to be a rhino, get a thick skin and just deal with it. You know, not everybody's going to agree with you, and that's what tolerance is really about. Real tolerance, people, is you have your opinion, I have mine. And we agree to disagree instead of trying to vilify and ruin everybody's life and career over it. You know, I mean, you know, and this is what we've seen, you know, in the culture with the bakers, you know, who have been persecuted by the LGBT lobby, you know, and other things, which is why I'm actually excited. I'm going to be talking to Kim Davis next week at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, because this is a woman who stood up and she said, no, I am not going to issue gay marriage licenses, because it violates my conscience. And, you know, don't ever let anybody tell you that your religious freedom doesn't matter and that your free speech doesn't matter, because Joy Behar even alluded to it here, like, well, you know, there's still the First Amendment. Yeah, because you are being held accountable for what she said. She didn't like it. Now the foot is on the other shoe. So anyway, so I was
reminded of the line of the attorney in God's Not Dead 2, where basically he says that, so you're saying that my client's right to believe is subordinate to every other right. In that case, it's not a right at all.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of God's Not Dead 2, next week at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, we will get to see God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness, I think is the subtitle, which will be the third God's Not Dead movie. They're doing a premiere, I think it's Thursday night. So hopefully me and Randall will be able to watch that and report back to you about how good it's going to be, because it's covering that very issue of Christian persecution. And it's coming here to America. It's already here. The problem is that you are not aware of it or engaged in it unless you have any backbone to stand up and say what's not popular in the culture. That's the problem. And, you know, we have plenty of opportunity. All right, so which story do you think we should do next? The dog food one, the transplant one, or the Bible one? Or the Job one? Because we're running out of time here.
Yeah, boy. Let's go animals and do with the human sheep.
Okay. So this is a Newsweek story. This is titled, Human Sheep Hybrids Could Grow Human Organs for Transplant and Even Cure Diabetes. Now, this is this jumped out at me for a number of reasons. Because that's called a chimera, right? This is a mixture of an animal and a human. So it's a hybrid, well, which is what it's called, a hybrid. And, you know, there's a number of ethical questions you could ask. Number one, is it ethical to take DNA from an animal and mix it with a human? I mean, really? Really, when you think if it's for the betterment of, you know, humanity. Well, let's read the article. It says, scientists have created human sheep hybrids in a step toward human organ production in animals. Of course, my first question is, why not take the same stem cells or whatever it is that they're taking from the sheep and take it from a human and somehow try to do it that way? But whatever. It says here, the approach could one day supply organs for transplantation, I think. Transplantation. In humans, and even offer a cure for type 1 diabetes. Researchers Hiro Nakachu, or however you say his name. The hardest part about my job is saying names. From Stanford University, and Pablo Ross, I could do that one, from the University of California, spoke at the annual American Association for the Advancement of Science meeting in Austin, Texas on Sunday. Approximately 115,000 people. For some reason, I was like, what? How do I read that out loud? Anyway, need a life-saving organ transplant in the U.S., and every 10 minutes a new patient is added to the national waiting list. The demand for organs far outstrips supply in the U.S., as 20 people die every day waiting for a transplant. That's horrible. Animal-grown human organs could offer a sustainable alternative. The scientists introduced adult human stem cells into the early-stage sheep embryos. The team returned them to the sheep, where they grew for 3 more weeks. At present, about 1 in every 10,000 cells in the sheep embryos is human. For the approach to work, Ross said the embryos would need about 1% of the cells to be human. A cure for diabetes? Scientists believe their strategy could lead to a cure for some diabetes patients. Type 1 diabetics fail to produce enough insulin to regulate blood sugar levels. Insulin is normally secreted by certain pancreatic isolate cells. Human isolate cells transplants are used as an experimental treatment but have had limited long-term success. One of the barriers is rejection. In theory, scientists could use a recipient's own cells to make organs that are compatible with their bodies. This could reduce the chance of immune system rejection. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you got the point, you know. And of course, there are obvious concerns that I have. You know, I don't support, just so you know, I don't support human-animal hybrids in any shape, form, or whatever. I don't care how close we are genetically to an animal. God made us a little bit higher than the animals, people, and he made us in his image, and I don't think he wants us to mingle our DNA with animal DNA, period, boom, that's it, you know. In fact, if you know your Bible history pretty well, and you've listened to our show for any length of time, I really believe that the Old Testament giants of old that are mentioned all throughout the Old Testament, including Goliath, had some of that going on. And that's why the flood took place in part. And that's why we had to wipe, you know, out that stuff, because the genes were getting all messed up. But there is nothing new under the sun, as Ecclesiastes says. So the other story concerning an animal has to do with the dog food company. I don't know. I'm just sharing this one just so you guys know, in case you're not aware of this story. I just read it today. It says here, another dog food company has recalled food tainted with a euthanasia drug. Okay, now there's a lot of mean people out there who would like to just kill people, so why not put euthanasia drugs in dog food? It says here several major, of course, what this says for this one is that there's not enough in it to actually kill animals, but the very fact that somehow it's in there makes me wonder. Several major dog food brands owned by J.M. Smucker have been recalled by the FDA after small amounts of a euthanasia drug were discovered inside. And if the story sounds familiar, that's because a completely different company issued an identical recall back in 2017. So that was like last year. The new recall includes everything from brands like Gravy Train to Skippy to Kibbles and Bits. And even though the FDA says it's, quote, unlikely, unquote, that your dog will get sick, we've got a complete list of the products below. And then it goes on and it lists these dog foods. So if you're listening to the archive, also, it's Gravy Train with T-bone flavor chunks, Gravy Train with beef strips, Gravy Train with lamb and rice chunks, Gravy Train with chicken chunks, Gravy Train with beef chunks, Gravy Train with chicken chunks, Gravy Train with beef chunks.
Pretty much Gravy Train.
It's Gravy Train. And then there's Kibbles and Bits, 12-can variety pack. Kibbles and Bits, I guess there's a whole bunch of things. So Kibbles and Bits. Ol' Roy Strips Turkey Bacon, Skippy Premium Chunks, and Gravy Chunky Stew, and all that. So there's an article on here. It says, what if your dog gets sick? It says, so what if you literally just fed your dog one of these foods? The FDA has a list of symptoms to look for, though again, the agency stresses that it's unlikely the levels of pentobarbital present in the recalled food will make your dog ill. Pets that eat pet food containing pentobarbital can experience drowsiness, dizziness, excitement, loss of balance, nausea, nystagmus, I don't know how to say that, eyes moving back and forth in a jerky manner, and inability to stand. Consuming high levels of pentobarbital can cause coma and death. Just so you know. Read the euthanasia drug. The whole point of taking it's pheno. Okay, it's phenobarbital.
Well, this is pentobarbital.
It does say pentobarbital on here, but maybe it's pheno. Okay, well, anyway, whatever. The point is that that's why we make dog food ourselves here at home.
And it's much less expensive to do it that way, too.
Yeah, if you want a good natural dog food recipe, get some brown rice, ground turkey, and mixed vegetables. Just buy it at Walmart. It's pretty cheap. We save literally $100 a month on dog food because we do it. Yes, Grover is safe. And so is Tuggy Bear. How in the world would I get it? I know. I have no idea how it would get in there. That's the crazy part. Okay, so then this other story caught my eye about Job. How many of you remember the book of Job? It's quite the job to read. Sorry, couldn't resist. Look, there's always a funny joke I can make. Well, whether or not it's funny is debatable. Randall and I, we actually taught the book of Job on our show, right? Well, there is an article over on the Jerusalem Post website, and it's titled Torment of the Bible's Job Gives Doctors Insight into a Rare Skin Disease. Now, this to me is fun. I love this. You know why? Because people are always like, well, the Bible is such an ancient book of myths and fairy tales. There's nothing really real in that book. You know, you guys believe in talking donkeys, people rise from the dead, stuff like that. But then you get a story like this, and somehow it's all of a sudden valid what's written in it. It says here, in 1966, Ralph Wedgwood and his colleagues in Seattle encountered two sisters with a significant long-standing history of skin boils. Scientists are learning more about the STAT3 loss of function autosomal. I don't know. I need somebody who can read English in here. Dominant hyper IgE syndrome, a complicated name for a horrible, extremely rare genetic disease affecting fewer than 1,000 patients around the world that has been known as Job syndrome, named for the suffering biblical character of that name. Ooh, isn't that neat that they paid attention? In 1966, Ralph Wedgwood and his colleagues in Seattle encountered two sisters with a significant long-standing history of skin boils that interestingly, were not associated with the signs of inflammation expected from such infections and were hence described as cold abscesses. And the cold is, in quotes. The decision was made to call the disordered Job syndrome, recalling the boils afflicted upon the biblical character as a test that emerged from an exchange between God and Satan. And then they quote the Bible. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot even to his crown, says the Bible. Now, I don't know about you, but I love it when science and people like these people quote the Bible. Dr. Joshua Milner, the chief of the Laboratory of Allergic Diseases at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases of the U.S. National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, writes about the syndrome in the latest issue of the Rambam Maimonides Medical Journal, published in Haifa. The article...
Something like that.
Huh?
Something like that.
How do you say it? I don't know how to read English very well today.
Well, it's English transliteration of Hebrew. I would call it Rambam Maimonides.
Gotcha. Well, ooh, that sounds so sexy.
Rambam
Maimonides.
Maimonides. Well, Maimonides is really Greek, but
yeah.
Long
anyway,
story.
The article is called "Learning from Job: A Rare Genetic Disease and Lessons of Biblical Proportions." Did you note the play on words there? Milner notes that many fascinating observations have been made regarding the pathogenesis of the disease and the role STAT3, a critical signaling molecule and transcription factor, plays in human health and disease. Additionally, quite a few phenotypic descriptions, aka observable traits, from the book of Job are similar to those seen in patients with STAT3 LOF AD, however you say that, which means loss of function autosomal dominant hyper IgE syndrome. Yeah, don't judge people. Beyond just the boils, this complex multi-system genetic disorder is a challenge clinically and scientifically, but it also brings into question how we approach genetic syndromes beyond just the technical aspects of research and treatment. Studying rare genetic syndromes can provide invaluable insight into fundamental pathways in health and disease beyond the benefit to the rare patient affected by such disorders. Job syndrome has been studied since 1966, which means 52 years, people, because I'll be 50 and I was born in 68. Because of the complicated symptoms these patients can develop, and for the insight the underlying cause provides into the human immune system, musculoskeletal, and circulatory systems, he continues. Since the initial naming, 2 substantial findings over the years have provided additional names. The first was that IgE, the antibody most tightly associated with allergic reactivity, is markedly elevated in these patients, prompting the name. It is noteworthy that the progression of terms from a malady of biblical dimension to a description of a remarkably abnormal clinical finding, not necessarily central to the disease, to the genetic root cause of the disorder, mirrors in many ways how we have evolved in our understanding of such diseases in general. Milner writes, just so you know. Beyond the boils and infections, which were noted initially, many of the symptoms with which the patients present can be found without too much stretching of the imagination in the text of the book of Job, either from Job's descriptions of his fate or in the descriptions by those who came to console him. He says, it's valuable to ponder ancient encounters with disease and affliction and contrast them to the modern ways that we understand, perceive, and deal with genetic diseases. Hey, did you know how they acknowledge the validity of the Bible there? Imagine that. The NIH researcher declares that what brings Job the most solace is a lecture from God at the very end of the book. It is fundamentally how humans and other living beings cannot possibly know or control all the various differences or mistakes that are made that lead to good and bad outcomes in nature. Is this almost done? Yeah, it is. Okay. While a disease can be quite severe in many patients, Milner writes, early management can, in a substantial subset of these patients, prevent many of the worst symptoms. Finally, once past their adolescent years, patients who have been able to manage their infections earlier in life tend... and my page just flipped. Well, anyway, they tend to something. I'm not sure what.
See a reduction in infection, even in IgE levels.
I don't know what happened to my page. Well, anyway, so the point is, my point in bringing this up is that, again, where people laugh and they scoff at the Bible, the Bible's just a book of fairy tales, blah, blah. And there's such argument over the Bible. Here, again, you got the medical world going, I think I've read about this. That guy Job in the Old Testament. By the way, Job is the oldest book in the Bible. And so I think that says something. Don't you think? I don't know. What do you think? I think it says something. Just so you know. Okay. Speaking of that, I want to encourage you to don't forget to go over my Twitter account and download this month's free PDF that we have about the modern state of Israel and Bible prophecy from our sponsor, Ariel Ministries, which, this is a great PDF. It's 16 pages written by Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum, and you can use it during your personal Bible study time when you're praying for 18 minutes every day, right? How many of you are doing that? Are you? Yeah, reduce it to the ridiculous, people. Pray 9 minutes twice a day, or 2 minutes, 9 hours a day. Is that right? Yeah. Or stay up for 18 hours, pray 1 minute every hour. You can do it. Yeah. Okay, and don't forget about Camp Shoshana, which is Ariel's Messianic Jewish Bible study camp. And this week, we actually have Model Ballaston coming back on the show. And Model is going to talk to us about Purim. And we're also going to talk to him about camp, because he's spoken at Camp Shoshana numerous times. And, and so if you're interested in going to camp, right there on the screen, in fact, his picture is there on the screen right next to Arnold Fruchtenbaum's and Roger Leiby's. And who's that? Richard Hill, I think it is. Anyway, study hard and grow. What did it say? Study hard and
Grow strong.
Grow strong. Yeah. Sign up for, if you can afford it, honestly, I would do it. It's awesome Bible teaching. And seriously, if you can't afford it, they offer scholarships. And if you can't go, don't forget you have a 20% discount on anything at Ariel's website, and it's definitely worth it. MP3s as low as $3, and you can still save 20% on that. There's PDF Bible studies there. There's little books. I mean, everything Arnold has spent 40 years probably, putting out solid biblical stuff. I got an email from somebody this weekend. They were telling me that one of the things they appreciate about our show is that we are not mixing our show with false religion and, junk that's out there. And trust me, as far as I know, we're the only show on Periscope under the Christian banner giving you a discount on solid theological stuff. We're not talking bubblegum stuff. We're talking real solid theology. So take advantage of it while you can. All right, what else was I going to say? Did I say hi to Tommy? I can't remember. Hi, Tommy. If I didn't say hi, I meant to. And let's see who else is in here. Lorenzo, hi, and Dottie is here too. I think, and Tony, and some other people I don't recognize. But thank you guys for coming in. We really appreciate it. I think we have one more story, right? Or we got to start winding down soon.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes.
Okay, so one last story before we're winding down. And just so you know, we're going to be cutting our show by 5 minutes, because hopefully in a couple days, or by March, hopefully, we'll be announcing the Roku network that we were just invited to be on for free to do this. But anyway, there's an article on the timesofisrael.com site titled "Now in Jerusalem, Rare George Washington Thumb Bible Goes Online." Of course, this is Bible News Radio, so I had to show you this story. National Library acquires 200 old miniature sacred writ dedicated to first U.S. president, makes it accessible to the public for the first time. Now, is this cool or what? Yeah, thanks, Tommy. Yeah, we haven't actually announced who it is yet. We want to make sure we get everything in writing before we say who it is. Some of you may know, but I don't think most of you are going to know who it is. But it is definitely a big open door for us. It will be a very good thing, and it's free. They're giving it to us for free. So in exchange, they want 5 minutes so they can put ads at the end of our show to advertise their channel. We will let the pillars know first once everything's in writing. So it says here, some 2 centuries after it was printed, a rare miniature Bible dedicated to the first president of the United States, and given what today is, by the way, has come to Jerusalem, where the National Library of Israel has made it freely accessible online for the first time. According to experts, less than a dozen copies of the special edition of the Bible remain in public hands. The book, measuring about 51 by 35 millimeters, aka 2 by 1.375 inches, includes both the Old and New Testaments written in paraphrase form. And you guys can go, I'll tweet this out if I haven't already, and you can see it because it's super cool. And again, if the Bible wasn't so important, why would this story even matter? Right? Just saying, people. It matters. It matters when a Bible survives a fire, or it's found in a car, or somebody finds one in a bookstore and they read the front of it and go, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if I can track down their ancestors." It doesn't happen with other books. It's just the Bible. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why is it? Maybe because it's God's word. Just a hint. So tomorrow I have a lovely girl coming on the show. If you guys got my email, then you already know who she is. The topic of our show tomorrow is the topic of loneliness and how do you deal with loneliness. And this is going to be a very interesting discussion with a young lady who is absolutely beautiful. And I think this is her first book. I'm not positive, but we will have more about that in our email tomorrow morning. And we will see you tomorrow night, same time at 7 o'clock. If you watched on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or you're listening to Spreaker, thank you for following us. We really appreciate it. And thank you again to all you guys who donate to us. And if you want to donate to us, don't forget, go over to BibleNewsRadio.com/give. And just know it goes to help feed us. So thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, be bold, stand up, and go with God, because he loves you. And ultimately, that's what hopefully you got out of the show today, is that, you know what, you can be bold in our culture, because the Bible ain't going away, people. And neither are Christians. But we have to be bold, right? And so let's not be ashamed, man. Let's not let the culture tell us to shut our faces. Just be bold, stand up, and go with God, because he loves you. That's the most important thing right there.